Can you imagine what would happen in this country to the second robot steps on a black kid's clean white Air Jordans? I ain't doing that! We ain't going with that! Those people are gonna die. The bragging point was that they didn't have a crew full of 50-year-old white men. This is the problem. The machine that is infinitely better at chess than this kid breaks his finger.
Well, geez, if I could only change the specification by 2.7 micronanometers.
Genius people think reality's gonna be versus what reality actually is. You think that artificial intelligence is gonna do anything meaningful in the next 10 years? You are an idiot. This idea that robots are going to be used in law enforcement, yeah, right. If you're a Mexican donkey seller, that's who might need to be worried about this thing.
Today I have an experiment to do. I think we're going to find out what happened when you use the world's most powerful laser pointer and give the camera superpowers.
That's a powerful laser.
Uh-oh. We can heal this with laser tech.
We're going to use the laser to make the most powerful camera in the world. I think that's pretty cool. Just like my favorite Marvel superhero.
Can that be fixed?
That right there?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to update the firmware.
What's some upcoming needed service?
The good news is that all this stuff is, you're good to go. You're protected from robotics because robotics is a scam. It doesn't work. Okay, the Boston Dynamics videos, I have talked to somebody who would know. Me and Nick have talked to a guy who's like a tech CEO guy. I know, I've heard things about Boston Dynamics. First, they get passed around. They're a DARPA initiative, but they got bought by SoftBank, I think, initially, or SoftBank or Hyundai.
Yeah.
And then when SoftBank or Hyundai realized that it's not a company, they don't do anything. It doesn't actually work. And when whatever Japanese people realized that, they sold it off to Hyundai or whoever owns them now. They exist solely as like a crown jewel in your investment portfolio. So if you're SoftBank or Hyundai or whoever the next buyer is, whoever makes a dishwasher, the best dishwashing machine is going to be the next one to buy Boston Dynamics. But they're just like a hot little thing to have in your investment portfolio. That's the function that they serve now, that there's no like real applicable. All the demos are like completely rehearsed. All those demos, it's like a choreographed bunch of steps, and it has to be that way. Like if it's doing something impressive looking, it's either a scripted, pre-done routine or somebody's controlling it. Not on camera. This is not like a thing that the robot can do. The real is that this dog thing, it's got like an hour's worth of battery life, and it can't do anything that a human can do to any degree of precision as close to a human can. So if you're doing anything with power lines, if you're doing anything with like machinery, anything more sophisticated than being a donkey, the Boston Dynamics robot cannot do it. And he was like, they have the donkey market cornered. The 1 hour battery life donkey that can only operate in certain temperatures. They got the market cornered for that. So if you're a Mexican donkey seller, that's who might need to be worried about this thing. There was a company that was looking at using these things, and it was just like every constraint that you could have had was something that a human being could have done easily. And it's like, we think the Boston Dynamics robots, they'll get it, they can get it about 10% of the way there, and they'll run for an hour. You can't use them in the cold weather, but it's like something a human in like a coat could go do with a bucket was the role that they were trying to fill. And what the guy said was like, Boston Dynamics has the market cornered on donkeys. All these jobs that are with your hands, they're protected. They're only going up. And the other thing is that like Zoomers don't do these jobs. If you're the young guy that gets in on a trade, gets in on HVAC, you're getting into a job that's getting more and more rare as these old timers filter out. Like as the current guy is like the 50-year-old guy who knows how to fix everything. He's got 15 more years until retirement. By the time you're mid-30s, you're hitting your stride. You're in those peak money-making years. Those years are going to overlap with the time period where all the guys that knew how to do it are leaving. They're like either dying or retiring. I think robotics are like not even close to as far along as AI, as machine learning is. And I think machine learning is a scam too.
Thank you for calling Boston Dynamics. For sales, press 1. For service, press 2.
Sales, yeah,
Stay
right.
on the line. The mailbox of the person you are calling is currently full and cannot accept new messages.
They're not even keeping up to date with their phone, their voicemail. That's how little they actually use it. The military application, this idea that robots are going to be used in combat
It's cheaper to just
or
send some
or in law enforcement. Yeah, right.
cops are cheaper.
Not even that. Like just yeah, right. When these fucking cars start slamming into school buses, when a robot cop accidentally kills some black kid, it's the end of Boston Dynamics. The law enforcement, I think that's the funniest one. I love when people get, what are you gonna do? We should start prepping now. What are you gonna do when robot police are taking over the cities? That's never, ever gonna happen. That's never, ever gonna happen. Never. Because the second a robot steps on a black kid's clean white Air Jordans and breaks a toe, can you imagine what would happen in this country if a robot like injured a black kid?
Yeah.
It would the whole fucking country would be shut down. You'd have, hey, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that. Why you gonna do with that? Hey. No, no. Every city for a year completely shut down. Hey, we ain't going with that. It ain't with that. White people marching in solidarity. No, the whole fucking country would be shut down the second a robot injured a black kid, which is good. I mean, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to see robot police, but it's science fiction. It's not even good science fiction because it's not close to being a possible reality. It would never, ever happen.
Yeah.
Maybe in 200 years. Like maybe once you have, once you've had generations of people growing up with like failure-free robots, it's like my robot friend. You could do it in 200 years. Not even close. You're not going to see it in your lifetime. That sort of thing. Have you been following the submarine thing?
No.
Those people are going to die. Rich person expedition thing. You know how you can pay to go up in a hot air balloon, that sort of thing. So this one's a submarine, and they built the submarine like cost cutting, like trying to save money on it. And they part of the deal was the guy building it didn't want the team to have a bunch of 50-year-old white guys on it, so they hired young people. There's like women, the female captain. They hired women to help with the submarine. They hired one guy that was like an old school established, like an actual like engineer guy, and he told them it was a death trap, and so they fired him. So now there's these people down. They went down to look at the ruins of the Titanic. They went in a submarine called the Titan. The Titan is the name of the fictional ship that sort of predicted the Titanic disaster. Before the Titanic was built, there was a fictional book about a ship called the Titan that sunk and went missing or whatever. And so now it's down there with the wreckage of the Titanic, and it's just sitting there. And they have a limited air supply. They don't have like a GPS locator or anything. They used a wireless Logitech wireless controller, I think, for the submarine controls. They're bolted in. There's no way to get out of the submarine except for taking like physical bolts off. Not that they would want to get out, at that depth anyway.
This is like a smaller scale of what could happen with like SpaceX missions. Like the commercial space stuff.
If your goal is to not have white men involved, you're going to get mixed results. The bragging point was that they didn't have a crew full of 50-year-old white men. Did you see the robot break the kid's finger? This one. This is how far the gap between what these ivory tower academic, intellectual, software genius people think reality is going to be versus what reality actually is, what intelligence is, machine intelligence is, versus like real a robot broke the kid's finger. That's a complete, like, mission failed, categorically. You made a machine that breaks a Chinese kid's finger. Congratulations. It's just a complete, and it's not like this. The software people, the tech people who have an IQ of 115, 120, they're so fucking arrogant. A tech nerd who should have been bullied mercilessly in high school, who should have had his pants pulled down in front of the girls' swim team. That's an 80s thing when they started to flip that. Like the nerds are actually the good guys. The jocks are like the hot people in high school were nice.
Yeah.
How about that? Like all the hot girls in high school, they were actually like nice. How about that? Beautiful people. Hey guys, it turns out nature isn't actually an inverted triangle. It's actually what you think it would be. It's actually beautiful people tend to have properly functioning minds. Jeez, can't believe that's the way it is. That's crazy.
It's because every movie I've ever watched says the opposite.
Okay? But the people with 120 IQ, they would look at this video and think,
well, geez, if I could only change the specification by 2.7 micronanometers, I could have the robot identify a finger.
Like they think this is a fixable problem. It's not. It's decades from being a fixable problem to having a robot that consistently identifies what is a human and doesn't break its finger. You're decades off from doing that consistently, failure-free. That's the thing. People don't get that it's like, they think it's like,
well, if a robot can do it 10 times in a row, it can do it 1,000,000 times in a row.
That's not the thing. You have to do it 10 million times without fucking up once. That's the way things actually work. Like if a human reaches across and breaks your finger, it's because he's trying to hurt you. There's never in the history of chess playing, there's never been a human player that reached for a finger like a piece. It's 20 years, 30 years away. We don't need to worry about it. The self-driving stuff, I would never trust a self-driving car. If I get in an accident, I want it to be my fault, not some software engineer's fault. But it will reduce the mortality rate, but driving is not a complex problem. It's actually an extremely easy problem. They've solved it in every video game where there's driving. Grand Theft Auto solved self-driving cars. It's the fact that they're just now getting around to having self-driving cars that are like almost a real thing. I don't care. I see that as a negative. It's like someone coming to me and telling me that they finished the first paragraph of a chapter of a book that they might finish writing. Like I literally don't give a about that.